Hi, I'm Robert Dyer. I'm a lifelong resident of Bethesda, and I'm running because 4 years ago, Goshen and Clarksburg clearly articulated what their top priorities were. The Clarksburg Town Center, a town center grocery store, the M83 highway, and a viable CCT light rail. And I brought this helpful chart along tonight to show you which of those things they've accomplished in the last 4 years. And, well, I think they've got a lot of explaining to do tonight. They've proven to be utterly impotent when it comes to getting the town center built. They have talked about walkable communities, but they gave a grocery store that's 2 miles away from the town center. With the exception of Council President Rice, they're waging a war on cars, which as an auto-centric community is by extension a war on you, the residents. So it's time for a change. Thank you.
Clarksburg was planned as a transit-oriented community with a mix of homes, retail, and jobs. Now nearly half built, retail and jobs are lagging far behind the residential development. If elected, what would you propose to bring more jobs and retail development to Clarksburg? Would you recommend slowing down development in Clarksburg?
This is a very important question in relation to whether we would stop or slow down development. It really is tied to whether or not, number one, are we going to build the transportation infrastructure that was critical to the Clarksburg plan, but number two, it's that office space was what was originally supposed to make Clarksburg viable as a place that you would have people working and then living nearby. And much like many other parts of the county, there is simply no interest on the part of large corporations to move here, and that's what we need to address. A lot of the space that was considered up here to be office space in the future is now a lot of pressure to change that to residential or retail. And that's a real problem, because if you take the job part out, the whole thing unravels, just like if you take the M83 or the CCT out. So I'm really pushing, if you consider that it's been over 10 years that not one single firm, a large corporation, has moved to Montgomery County, it's absolutely outrageous. We need to get aerospace corporations, private space industry, defense firms, build on the Lockheed company we have here now. We're close to Goddard. We're close to the Wallops Island launch facility. Why is Montgomery County not one of the leading sources in America of technology, research, and hardware for defense and aerospace firms? It just boggles the mind. So we really need to look, first of all, we need to give Dulles Airport access via a new bridge across the Potomac. We need the M83 to get 270 cleared up. And finally, we need to have a real examination of our draconian tax and regulations that's driving business away.
Transportation has been a major concern for all Upcounty development. Clarksburg and the surrounding communities were promised the infrastructure, and the county has spent millions of taxpayer dollars on the Mid-County Corridor study that is now threatened by outside interests outside our community to be stopped. What is your position on the original master plan alignment, M83? If you are not in favor of M83, what alternative from the Mid-County Corridor study do you prefer at the present time? We are not accepting a no comment answer. This is strictly a what transportation, what road are you for?
Then we'll start with Robert Dyer.
Robert Dyer, I'm absolutely committed to getting the M83 built on the master plan alignment, option 9. I've testified before when they had the public hearing last year in favor of it. I've written letters to the editor of the Gazette and elsewhere. It's absolutely not only for Goshen and Clarksburg, but you've got Damascus is going to triple in size over the next 10 years or so. There's Germantown as well, and the whole 270 corridor is jammed up because we never built the M83. It's a critical missing link there. What Hans Reamer didn't tell you is that the BRT version of the CCT will take about 50 minutes to get down to Shady Grove Metro, and then, well, here we go another hour into Washington. I mean, how many people are going to do that? So we need to be realistic. This is how the majority of commuters are moving in the Upcounty. There is no transit solution that covers the entire Upcounty that's going to get everybody off the road. We need a council member who is going to be honest with you and tell you that. We have to have the M83. And really, it's such a basic responsibility of government, it ought to disqualify someone from public service if they're going to withhold these vital pieces of infrastructure for which the county has agreed to build the development, but they never built the road to support it. So it's urgent that we move ahead on this immediately as a priority. What it comes down to is when you have council members who are beholden to developers, and it's critical for them to have their smart growth, the developers who funded these groups that are talking against the M83, that they need to stop that so that your community fails, and we're not going to allow that.
If elected, what would you do to provide Clarksburg and the Goshen community rapid relief from the current traffic congestion?
Certainly, it's always hilarious when a council member who votes to give a $72 million tax cut to developers in White Flint stands up before you and says there's no money for the M83. The fact is that certainly no one is going to argue that a highway gets built overnight. You're going to have studies, you're going to have lawsuits trying to stop it, but it's how you move forward and how vigorous the government moves forward with it. You might remember in recent years the Woodrow Wilson Bridge was replaced. That wasn't good feelings on behalf of some politician somewhere to help you. That was because of National Harbor. The developers wanted that done, and they're the ones that pulled the strings. ICC wasn't built to help anybody. It was built to help the Conterra development out there at I-95. And it was put up in short order. It was on the books for a long time, but man, when they gave that money to those politicians, bam, they got that thing up in a few years. So it's really, when you want something, you saw how quick they put the jail up here in Clarksburg. When they want something, they build it. And so that's the kind of approach we're going to take to build the M83, because that's the top priority, to get people moving and also to get traffic out of Goshen and out of Montgomery Village back onto some bigger roads. You can have all the signal improvements you want, but if the road doesn't have the capacity to support it, it's not going to help. The other thing is that if you have the M83, you can run those buses down to Shady Grove without, you just an old-fashioned bus, you didn't spend a single dime on it. So let's get straight on what the logical solutions are and what's going to help the most people for the least money.
Thank you. For the benefit of the candidates, the number one topic in Clarksburg and in the Goshen community is our lack of ability to get anywhere. So roads are a very high priority with our voting bloc.